So let me tell you something that happened to me in the year 2010, I believe. I was coaching people, and all the time the people were telling me, I wish someone taught me these things earlier. And I figured that I need to do something about it. And so I prepared a homeschool mentoring curriculum, so to speak. And I was unmarried at that point in time. And one of my mentors told me, Lawrence, you don't have authority in this area. You cannot teach parents because you don't even have a kid. And so I benched that idea. At the end of the day, it never flew, even as I am writing today, even as I'm speaking today. But there is one aspect in that idea that is absolutely critical that I want to show you today in these episodes, even as we are talking about teaching our children to discover their purpose. It's going to be absolutely critical for them increasingly to do that. And we know this. We know this because the issue of grades and theory and certificates and diplomas and degrees and masters and PhDs is no longer working for everyone. In fact, it wasn't even designed to work for everyone. It is designed actually to cull out as many who cannot as possible. But everyone who has been thrown out because they couldn't fit, they have purpose. And so it is imperative for us as parents to help them, whoever they are, whether they're academically gifted or whatever it is, we help them to discover what their purpose is. And one of the ways we're going to do it, a spiritual way that I want to show you today. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
An American poet by the name of Carl Sandburg said, "A baby is God's opinion that the world should go on." And I do agree that a baby comes so that the world can go on. That's why I think it is important to note that the baby doesn't come with a blank slate, blank mind, blank, purposeless, The baby comes because the world needs to go on, and the baby has a full-time contribution into the world going on. We need to live away from this kind of thinking where we think that we just come to fit into what the world is and try to live into the world and make the best out of it. And we need to start looking at life from a different angle. That each and every one of us comes here to make a contribution to the world, to shape it, to transform it, to impact it. And if you look at that kind of school of thought and that perception, you put it upon your child, you put it upon the children that are in your house, the way you look at them changes. I think there's a quote that says that if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at, they're going to change. It is true. If you look at your child as someone who is going to be relevant after they've graduated 19 years or 20 years from school, you're going to lose the point. That's why this poet, I think, made a very powerful suggestion. And this comment is extremely quotable, and we need to revisit again and again. That a baby is God's opinion that the world should go on. So a baby is sent so that this world can continue. Not that the baby will just live in the world so that the world can go on, but that the baby is going to contribute to the shaping, to the being fruitful, to multiplying, to fulfilling God's mandate for their lives. And that's why I do believe that it is important for you and I to note that every baby that you see out there has a purpose. Every human being, yellow, red, black and white, we all have a purpose. So the question would be, how does a parent show the baby their purpose, even as they are discipling them, even as they are raising them up as young kids? How do you show your child purpose? Remember, it's not something that you're going to paste and label, and it's not something that you're going to impute. It is something that you're going to help to discover. Purpose is there to be discovered by the owner of purpose. Sometimes we look at people and we can see something unique about them and we can tell about them. But it is much more powerful if themselves, they excavate it. But the input of this excavation can be external from other people, especially people in authority like parents, guardians, teachers, and even bosses, by the way. Sometimes I remember when I was doing some interviews at some point in time, recruiting people, about 100 people for a particular project that I was carrying out. There's a lady who came in, and this lady is absolutely, totally, 100% gifted in terms of media. And that's exactly the feedback that I gave this lady in that interview. And later on, I'm told she went and she told her friend, "Is that guy a prophet? Because he told me exactly what I feel I should do in life." My point is that thing is already existing in them, and the people in authority, the external people in authority in people's lives, are able to learn, are able to perceive what that is, what that purpose is, and maybe make a suggestion here and there. And that's where you as a parent come in. And the first thing that we say, because there are several ways you can do this, the first thing that we say is that you just name the child the way you perceive them to be. Ethan is named Ethan because we perceive he's a wise man. Sarah is named Sarah because we perceive she's a lady of abundance. And therefore the names are supposed to dictate who they are. You don't just name people after people. You name people after themselves. You name people after their purpose. If at all you are strong enough to perceive what that is. And maybe you might not necessarily be critically clear on how it is. But you can know as a parent. Let me tell you, you're given a lot of spiritual power and spiritual authority as a parent to shape that eternal life of the child. Naming is the first critical thing that you do. And some people normally name their kids even before they are born. And they start shaping them thus. The second thing that you can do as a parent to teach your children purpose is to live your purpose. Live it out. As you're living your purpose on a day-to-day basis, it rubs off of them. It says that children do not misquote, and children do not ignore the things that they see. They might not hear, or they might ignore whatever they hear, but the things that they see have a bigger impression on them. So if you wanted them to live a life of purpose, live your life on purpose. The third thing that we did is you should be deliberate in excavating what that purpose is. Like you're all ears, you're always looking, attentive, trying to see what is so unique about Ethan, what is so unique about Sarah. And you talk with your spouse about it, talk with your wife, your husband about it. Talk about the children, the unique things you see about the children, what they did. And some of these things that they did are hints. They are foundations upon which their purpose can be built. But then we said yesterday that don't just do that, but go one step further and start supporting these things that you've seen in your children. Start supporting them. Start creating an environment through which those things can be able to thrive. But today I want us to look at a very big spiritual thing that you can be able to do to lead your children to purpose. And this is what I was talking about in the introduction part of this episode. That parents are in a pole position to, number 5, give these children the blessing. That is what I was creating, a curriculum I was creating long ago that I've never deployed. That parents should be the ones in a pole position to speak into the lives of their children. People normally think that a blessing is a special ceremony where, I don't know, animals have got to be slaughtered and things have got to go this way and that way. It has to be serious so that, the blessing can be done. We look at the stories in the Bible where Isaac calls Esau and tells them, go and kill something, bring, and then sacrifice whatever it is, and then I'm going to give you a blessing. We see stories about Abraham being blessed by God, and we think that blessings are something that should be taken on a serious note and maybe once in a blue moon, and so we don't engage in this. I'll never forget this. There's a time I visited my mama back home, just a few years ago actually, and I went there with my kids and my wife, and then mama decided that we should go and see my uncle, where she was raised, basically back to her home. And her mom had passed away also, and her dad had passed away. So we found the uncle there, but we found also the main house. And in the main house, there's this elder who came by. And mom made an impassioned plea to this elder man to bless us, just to say a word of blessing to us. The guy refused. He said that, we need to do this and that, and we come for that particular blessing. And that was like, I think 5 years ago. We've never gone back. And that's a problem that we do with blessings. We think that imputing a blessing upon someone of younger situation than us needs to be serious, needs to be ceremonial, needs to be ritualistic. An animal has gotta die, a generation has gotta be called, a ceremony has gotta be organized, and so on. There is a place for that. But you see, what I'm saying is, as a parent, if you're trying to raise up someone to live a life of purpose, then daily has got to be the key. And this blessing, you know what that blessing is? It's just words. Words spoken by someone who is in authority. There's something that normally coaches teach. When I started coaching, I used to hear a lot of this thing called affirmations. You go and say, I'm rich, 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 I'm rich. You're doing affirmations. Those things don't work. And by the way, there are some of them that if you do them well, you do what they call incantations, where you speak a positive, powerful word about yourself. It ups you up. It works. But I'm talking about words spoken by someone in authority over someone else, someone like a parent, speaking words of encouragement, words bordering on prophecy, by the way, about a child. You are a strong child. You are a smart child. You are meant for greatness. And some can get even specific in some of these things. You are God's own right hand, something of that nature. You're speaking these things into the life of the child. Those words do not go unattended. Those words do not go flying from one ear to the other. They go straight into the psyche, into the character, into the very spirit of a particular child. And as you do that, the words you're speaking are not necessarily just empty words. Those words you're speaking are guiding, forming. In fact, there's a guy called, I think I've forgotten his name, but he said instead of affirmations, you create afformations, where you form words that are speaking into the purpose of this particular child. Even if they are not seeing it, it makes an impression. We normally do this when they are having their birthdays. They kneel and so on, and I speak a word of blessing upon them, and so on and so forth. That can be a bit ritualistic. But on a daily basis, you can, from out of the blue, it doesn't have to be something serious. But for you as a parent, it's important. That word is important. And you just keep speaking it over and over again. Litter words of blessings upon your children the whole week. Let it be littered. Let us stop, raising kids where they know that we are always complaining about them. Oh, you're a bad boy. You did this. You're a bad girl. You did this. And all they know is accusations and judgment. Let us change it. And let us start speaking a blessing. But this blessing has got to be focused on their purpose as children, even as they're being raised up. And as we keep doing this, clearly they're going to gravitate towards a life of purpose. The words you speak of blessing as a parent cannot go empty. They don't fall on a rocky ground. They actually fall on a very fertile ground, which is the heart of a child. Tomorrow we kind of close the whole chapter, the whole series on purpose, teaching children purpose. But until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.